All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Sarbjeet. You may be watching this either in my Facebook group, on YouTube, or on LinkedIn. This session, my name is Sarbjeet Daya. I have a number of years of experience in various roles, including business analyst, scrum master, project management. And one of the things that are consistent in many of these roles is the need to create professional looking documents. And it's something that even after having so many years of experience that there are some little nuances that I still struggle with when it comes to MS Word, Microsoft Word documents, right? So I thought it may be helpful to create a video that shows you how to create professional looking Word documents. And we'll go through these in a couple of series. Like today, I'll cover a few topics, and then next week, we'll cover a few more topics. And again, the goal is to help you guys create professional looking Word documents that you may need. And in these roles, as a business analyst, as a scrum master, as a project manager, as a program manager, you'll need to create numerous documents, right, throughout your day-to-day role, right? These documents could include business requirements documents, BRDs, FRDs, could even include meeting minutes, could be any recommendations, any document that you need to present to your stakeholders, to your management. And the goal is to show you how some of the common formatting things that you may need to do in formatting good looking documents. All right, so let's go. Let me start sharing my screen. So I do see questions popping up. Today's live is dedicated to professional looking documents. Other questions that are not related to this live, I can go ahead and answer at a later time or create short videos thereafter. So today's live is mostly dedicated in how to make professional looking Microsoft Word documents. Okay, so with that, let me get started. I'm going to share my screen. Uh, Share screen. All right, so with that, I believe that you guys should be able to see my screen now. If you're not able to, let me know. So the topics that, in my Facebook group, what I did is I said to most of you guys, I created a post and I said, what do you want to learn when it comes to creating um, formatting Word documents correctly? And so these are the 15 topics that have been presented to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down this list. I'm going to cover a few of these topics today. We'll come back next week and cover the rest of the topics. There are some topics that are a little bit more advanced than others. So today my focus is to cover some of the easier topics with you guys and start to create a document that you can use over and over again. Okay. So things to be mindful when you're creating documents, right? Whether they be BRDs, FRDs, any types of documentation that you need to create, you need to use some standard formatting techniques, right? So things to be mindful of. Try to use standard font sizes. Arial or Calibri work the best. They allow your documents to look professional. Using other fonts are okay, but just when it comes to a professional setting, you want to be mindful and use Arial or Calibri, right? You always want to use 11 font size in the main body of the document, right? 8-point font size should be used for headers and footers. Footnotes or endnotes should use 8-point font size, and then alignment should always be on the left hand side, right? And then I'll show you how to use line spacing for multiple and single, right? This actually helps your documents look a lot more cleaner if you're using line spacing. So I'll show you how to do that today. What we'll also cover is anytime you're trying to create professional looking documents, there's always different sections in that document that you need to be mindful of, right? So you should always have a cover sheet, should have a signature page. If your document is something like a project charter or a BRD or FRD, a document that requires signatures or sign-offs or approvals, you should have a signature page. And then you should always generally have a history page. If your documentation is type of documentation that continues to change or continues to get updated, could be for a number of reasons, right? Could be in terms of BRDs that get changes added. So when change requests are approved, we generally need to go back and update the BRD. So the version history captures the version history of the document. So that way, anybody reading the document can understand what changes have been made to the document over time, right? And then the last section is the main body of the content, right, of the document. What we'll cover today also is how to add table of contents. I'll show you how to add tables, how to add tables, and then I'll also show you how to add headers on tables that span across different pages. So oftentimes we have tables, and then if they're spanning across multiple pages, if the title's not there, it could be very confusing for the reader to understand what they're looking at. So these are the topics 1 through 5 that we'll cover today in today's live session. And then, as I said, some of these other topics I will cover in a next session. Okay, so let me pause there and see if there are any more comments. No more comments yet. All right, so I'm going to continue going on. And then what I did is, you guys, to help us use a document so I can show you some of those techniques. What I did is I copied an article from Google just so we could use. Here's a link that if you are interested in reading this article is about how to live a happy life. So I thought that may be something that most of you guys are interested in. And what I'll use is I just copied and pasted this document from Google, and I'll go through and show you how to format this based on some of the topics that I said we were going to do. So the first thing is we want to use standard font size, Arial or Calibri. My favorite is Calibri. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight everything and then go to the fonts area here and then select Calibri. Let me know if you guys are having a hard time seeing my screen. I just increased the font size, I zoomed in just a little bit so you guys can see my screen a little bit better. But if you need me to zoom in a little bit more, just let me know. So what I did is I highlighted the entire document, right? To have a consistent font throughout the whole document, I selected the font type and selected Calibri. We said that our general font size should be 11. So I just, again, went to the font size, made it 11, right? So this is the first topic that I said that we should have is consistent font or professional looking font. The font size should be around 11. Footnotes and endnotes are 8. We're not getting there yet. Alignment should be left align and then line spacing. So left align, all that means is over here you will have tabs. So this is left align, right? This is what left align means. We can select everything and make sure it's left align. It's highlighted. I'll go through the different settings so you can see what that looks like if this were centered. So this is what your document would look like. And in a professional setting, this just doesn't look good, right? So you want to make sure that everything is left aligned. Sometimes things are right aligned too, and this is what that looks like. And oftentimes when I'm looking at documentation, you may find that it is centered in this format. So if you ever have documents that look like this, that just means that you need to fix your alignment, right? So documents that have a lot of irregular spacing in the middle, that is just not needed, right? And sometimes all you need to do to fix that is select all, right? And make sure that your document is left aligned. That should fix a lot of your spacing issues that you have, okay? The next thing is to create a document template. So generally, as I said, in the roles of business analyst, scrum master, project management, we create lots and lots of documentation, right? And generally what you want to do is create a document template, which will save a lot of time. So if you create a template for yourself, it will save you a lot of time from redoing a lot of these formatting settings over and over again, okay? And I'll show you how to do that. So the first thing is you want to create a cover page. The way to do that, and the way that helps me, the best way is to add page breaks, right? So the way that you do this is you can start at the beginning of your document, right? And click on insert on the ribbon on the tool panel, click on page break. And what that will do is it will create a blank page for you, but adding section break or page breaks, right, will allow you to have different things like different headers and different footers on different pages, which actually allow you to do some of the more complex things that we're going to talk about. Okay, so I'm going to just label this as cover page, and then I'm going to do a page break. So now this page is intentionally left for the cover page. We can design it however we want to. Then we said we wanted a signature page. And I'll add another page break over there. And then we said we wanted a version history. And then I'll add another page break there. And then now this is the body of your document, right? Oops, I think I forgot to show you guys how to do alignment or line spacing. So generally, when we look at this, things to be mindful overall, line spacing should be a single or multiple. And what that means is throughout your document, you want to have consistent line spacing, right? And I'll show you what that looks like. So if I highlight all of this, and the goal of the lines and how you get to line spacing is, so you highlight everything on the home button, right? You will see this arrows, right? This icon that has two arrows, one going up and one going down. And this is for line and paragraph spacing. So if you click on that arrow, if you wanted to have double spacing, you would put on 2.0. So this is what this looks like. It looks like, an essay that you generally have to write in college, or an essay that you have to submit. And generally in the work environment, we don't do double spacing unless your organization or the type of document that you're creating requires it. Otherwise, what we generally see is 1.15, right? And what that does is it gives you a nice consistent look and feel, and it doesn't cramp up the words. It's a little bit of free flowing. So the way, again, to go and have consistent line spacing throughout your document is to go to File, and then, I'm sorry, in the Home tab, there's this arrow, line spacing, right? So arrow going up, arrow going down. This is for line and paragraph spacing. If you click on that, and then you're going to select 1.15 to show that, to make sure that all your line spacing is consistent throughout the document. Okay, so I've showed you guys how to have a cover page, how to have a signature page, how to add version history, and then this is now the body of your document, right? One of the things that have come up consistently is, how do you add table of contents, right, that are linked to the body of your document? And the way that you have table of content is by the heading, by the different headings that you have within the document, right? So let me show you how to do that. So let me say, let me call this Introduction to Living a Happy Life, right? So now if I were to create, let me have another page section break here, insert page break. And what I'm going to do is, the way that you create table of contents is you go to, I believe, review. Let me make sure. View. Okay, you go to references, and then there's a button that calls table of contents. So when you click on that, you have to let it know to what level you want the table of contents to appear, right? So generally, the professional setting, we only go up to heading 1, 2, and 3, right? So I will select that. And what it says is no table of content entries found. And that's because we don't have any headings to showcase what the table of contents need to be. Okay, so give me a minute. Let me pause to see if we have any questions in the comments. So the question that we have is, when is the next session? Generally, we'll have I'll plan the next session to be next week around the same time, so that way we can finish all of these topics. Okay, so let me go back and show you how to create table of contents. This is the topic that I created, or the a heading that I want to appear in the table of contents. So the table of contents, the only things that will appear in the table of contents are headings 1, 2, and 3, right? So in order for this section to be populated with the page numbers and everything where it needs to appear, you would need to create or align your headings to the heading sections, right? So the style. So generally what I do is I highlight this and I call this heading 1, right? So when I do that, I can also number these items. So generally I do like to indent these. And now if I go back and click on update field, you will see that introduction to living a happy life shows up on page 5. And this is where it is, right? It creates that link that didn't exist before because we did not assign the heading, the style of the heading, right? So this is how generally you create table of content. So what I'll do is these are, again, just topics that were in the article. I just picked up or Googled an article, and that's what I'm using to create this training for you. So I'll go through, and anything that's bolded, I'll create heading 1 so that it can appear in our table of contents, right? So that's what I'm doing right here. And then I'll also play around with heading different types of headings. So I have heading 2 here, right? And we can call this 3.1, for example. And then this also could be heading 2, and we'll call this 3.2. And this is the last one. And then we can just make this 4.0 or 4, and then move this a little bit over so it looks good. Okay, so now that I have gone through and used the style heading 1 and 2 to showcase or to identify in the document what the titles are within the document, if I want to go back and update the table of contents, generally what you do is you right click, right? You right click and you right click and there's a button that says update field. When you click on that, it will ask you, do you want to update page numbers only, or do you want to update the entire table? I want to update the entire table. And now you can see that everything is getting populated, right? The introduction to a happy life is on page 5. It can connect you to others in the communities on page 5. Sorry, guys, I haven't read the content of this article. I just picked something for us to use. And so these are the various topics that we have gone through and started to identify in here. And you can see now it's starting to look like a document that you would see or create for your day-to-day role. Okay, so that's that. I wanted to show you guys one other thing. So you see how it's linking page numbers. Generally, if we want to add page numbers, right? So you can go into header or footer, or there's one, you can just insert the page number, but generally you can go into the footer and add page numbers, right? So if I wanted to just add a page number to the top of the page, you can do that. To the bottom of the page. So generally I like to do bottom of the page, and I like to do it on the right